The Return of the King, the final chapter of the epic saga, opens with a world teetering on the brink of darkness. The shadow of Mordor stretches ever longer, its tendrils of fear and despair reaching towards the last bastions of freedom in Middle-earth. Yet even in this darkest hour, hope endures, carried in the hearts of a few brave souls who dare to stand against the coming storm. As dawn breaks over the white walls of Minas Tirith, Gandalf and Pippin ride with all haste towards the city. The streets are a flurry of activity, soldiers and citizens alike preparing for the siege they know is coming. In the highest circle of the city, they meet with Denethor, the steward of Gondor, a man worn down by years of vigilance and the weight of his office. Denethor, proud and stern, receives the news of his son Boromir's death with a grief that borders on madness. Pippin, moved by Boromir's sacrifice, offers his service to Denethor. The steward accepts, more out of bitter amusement than any real need. As Pippin dons the black and silver livery of the citadel, he feels the mantle of responsibility settle upon his small shoulders. No longer is he the carefree hobbit who set out from the Shire. He has become a player in the great game of fate. Meanwhile, in Rohan, Aragorn faces a momentous decision. The beacons of Gondor have been lit, a desperate call for aid. But Theoden and his riders cannot reach Minas Tirith in time to turn the tide. With heavy hearts, Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli realize there is only one path left to them, the paths of the dead. A road no living man has ever survived. This shadowy passage, cut into the heart of the mountain, is haunted by the spirits of oath-breakers, men who forsook their vow to Isildur in the dark days of the last alliance. Only the heir of Isildur can command their allegiance and release them from their eternal torment. It is a test of Aragorn's birthright, a moment that will define his claim to the throne of Gondor. As they enter the cold, still darkness of the mountain, even Legolas and Gimli feel fear grip their hearts. But Aragorn strides forward, his face set with grim determination. In the deepest chamber, he unfurls the standard of Elendil, its stars gleaming in the gloom. With a voice that echoes through the ages, he calls upon the dead to fulfill their oath. And they come, a host of spectral warriors. Their eyes gleaming with an unearthly light, bow before Aragorn. The heir of Isildur has returned, and the dead will follow him to war. Far to the east, in the shadows of Mordor, Sam Gamgee faces his own trial. Believing Frodo dead from Shelob's sting, he had taken the ring, determined to complete the quest alone. But now, having discovered that Frodo lives, captured by orcs and taken to the Tower of Cirith Ungol, Sam must summon courage he never knew he possessed. The tower looms before him, a monument to cruelty and fear. Yet Sam does not falter. With the light of Galadriel's phial in one hand and Sting in the other, he enters the orcs' stronghold. His love for Frodo and his unwavering dedication to their quests give him strength beyond his stature. Orcs fall before him, fleeing from the terrible light. He bears, until at last he finds Frodo. Their reunion is bittersweet. Frodo, weakened by his captivity and the ever-growing burden of the ring, can scarcely believe that Sam has come for him. When Sam returns the ring, Frodo feels its weight settle upon him once more, a burden that seems to grow heavier with each passing moment. Yet with Sam by his side, he finds the strength to go on. Disguised in orc armor, they begin the final leg of their journey into the heart of Mordor itself. Back in Minas Tirith, the storm breaks. The armies of Mordor, vast beyond counting, darken the fields of the Pelennor. At their head ride the Nazgul, their fell beasts screaming, a promise of death and defeat. The air grows thick with the sound of war, drums and the harsh cries of orcs thirsting for battle. Gandalf takes command of the city's defenses, his white robes, a beacon of hope amidst the encroaching darkness. Catapults hurl flaming projectiles back and forth, and the massive gates of the city groan under the assault of Grond. The great battering ram shaped like a wolf's head. Just when all seems lost, a horn sounds in the distance. The Rohirrim have arrived, Theoden, leading the charge with a battle cry that shakes the very earth. The tide of battle turns as the horsemen crash into the rear of the orc army, scattering them like leaves before a gale. But the forces of Mordor are not so easily defeated. The Witch King of Angmar, mightiest of the Nazgul, descends upon the battlefield. His very presence saps the will of those around him, and even the brave Theoden falls before his onslaught. It is then that Eowyn, shield maiden of Rohan, reveals herself. Disguised as a male rider, she has come to the battle, defying her uncle's orders to remain behind. With her is Merry, also sworn to Theoden's service and unwilling to be left behind. Together, they face the Witch King. "No living man may hinder me," the Nazgul Lord boasts. But Eowyn throws off her helmet, her golden hair shining in the dim light. "I am no man," she declares, and with a mighty stroke, she drives her sword into the space beneath the Witch King's crown. Merry, seizing the moment, stabs the wraith's knee with his barrow blade. The Witch King falls, his unearthly scream fading into nothingness. Yet the battle is far from over. From the river, black ships appear. The corsairs of Umbar come to reinforce Mordor's armies. But as the ships draw near, a miracle occurs. The standard of the kings of Gondor unfurls from the lead ship, and Aragorn leaps ashore, followed by Legolas Gimli and the ghostly army of the dead. The battle turns decisively. The dead sweep through the enemy ranks like a cold wind, impervious to mortal weapons. Orcs flee before them, their morale shattered. By nightfall, the field is won, and Aragorn releases the dead from their oath, allowing them to find the peace they have been denied for an age. In the aftermath of the battle, a grim reality sets in. Though they have won the day, Sauron's power is far from broken. All eyes turn to Mordor, where the fate of Middle-earth will be decided not by armies, but by two small hobbits on a desperate quest. Aragorn, knowing that Frodo and Sam need time to complete their mission, proposes a desperate gambit. They will march on the Black Gate itself, not with any hope of victory, but to draw Sauron's eye away from his own lands. It is a suicide mission, but one that might give Frodo the chance he needs. And so the remnants of the western armies, a mere fraction of Sauron's might, march to their doom. Men of Gondor and Rohan, elves and dwarves, all united in one last defiant stand against the darkness. As they journey, Frodo and Sam face trials beyond imagining. The lands of Mordor are a nightmare of ash and fire, every step a torment. Water is scarce, and the very air seems to resist their passage. Worst of all is the ring, its weight now so great that Frodo can scarcely stand. In a moment of clarity, Sam realizes that they will not have the strength to return. This is truly a one-way journey. Yet neither hobbit falters in their resolve. They have come too far, endured too much, to give up now. Their path takes them past armies of orcs and camps of men allied with Sauron, always hiding, always one misstep away from discovery. And all the while the eye of Sauron sweeps back and forth across his domain, searching for the ring he knows is within his grasp. At last they reach the foot of Mount Doom. But Frodo, exhausted beyond measure, can go no further. In a moment that will be sung of in ages to come, Sam lifts his master onto his back. "I can't carry the ring for you," he says, "but I can carry you." Step by agonizing step, Sam carries Frodo up the slopes of the mountain. The very air shimmers with heat, and the ground cracks beneath their feet. At last they reach the crack of doom, the fiery chasm where the ring was forged and where it must be destroyed. But at the crucial moment, with the ring held over the flames, Frodo falters. The ring's power, growing ever stronger in the place of its making, overwhelms him. "The ring is mine," he declares, and puts it on. All seems lost. At the Black Gate, Aragorn and his companions fight a hopeless battle, surrounded on all sides by Sauron's forces. In Mordor, Sauron's attention snaps to Mount Doom. Aware at last of the true danger, he sends the Nazgul screaming towards the mountain, but it is too late. For Gollum, who has stalked the hobbits since Cirith, Ungol, chooses this moment to attack. He leaps upon the invisible Frodo, biting off the finger that bears the ring. In his moment of triumph, dancing with glee, Gollum loses his footing and falls into the fiery chasm, taking the ring with him. There is a moment of absolute silence. Then, with a shock that shakes all of Mordor, the ring is unmade. Sauron's power, bound to the ring for so long, collapses. The dark tower falls, and the armies at the Black Gate scatter. In terror and confusion, the age of the ring has ended. The king has returned, and two small hobbits, rescued from the ruin of Mordor by the eagles, are honored by all the free peoples of Middle-earth as the true heroes of the age. But the story does not end with the fall of Sauron. There is still much to be done, a world to be rebuilt. Aragorn is crowned King Elessar, heralding a new age of peace and prosperity for Gondor. He weds Arwen, daughter of Elrond, fulfilling a love that has waited decades for its moment. The hobbits return to the Shire, only to find that evil has taken root there as well. In a final test of their growth and courage, they lead their people in casting out the ruffians who have taken over under Saruman's leadership. The fallen wizard meets his end at last.